Right, we are live.
Welcome to OZ News Hour. I'm Andy Higgins here with Jimmy Atkinson. Today is December 4th, 2023, and we are covering the most important stories happening right now in the world of opportunity zones.
We're talking about opportunity zones. We're talking about opportunity zones.
Love that. Jimmy, how was
Love
your
that
weekend?
jingle, Andy.
How was your
Doesn't get
weekend?
better than that.
How was your weekend, Jim?
Oh, it was good, Andy. Relaxing. Got all the Christmas decorations up. We got all the lights up on the house. We got the Christmas tree in the other room over there. I can see it right now. Went to church, celebrated the first week of Advent. All is right with the world around here, Andy. How was your weekend?
Yes, same deal. I love the beginning of Advent. It's our family tradition. We have a lot of pine trees on our property here in Michigan. So I go out, I cut a few pine branches and we make our own. Can you see the whole thing? We make our own Advent wreath.
That is awesome, man. I love that.
Yeah. So
Pretty cool.
and then every night at dinner we light the candle. Every kid gets a different turn, and it's fun. It's cheap, right? It's cheap. It's cheap entertainment, and the kids love it. Anytime that they get to play with a lighter, they love it. And I don't even have to make the wreath because my daughters love to do little crafts like that. All I had to do was cut the branches. So easy work, kicking off Advent. And today in our episode, we actually have our holiday gift guide. Who knew there were so many gifts relevant to opportunity zones? We're going to cover that towards the end of the show. But Jimmy, to kick it off, our first headline, there was a big announcement from Caliber, right? An opportunity zone sponsor. And they actually announced this at our recent OZ Pitch Day that we host at Opportunity DB. This is one of the largest pickleball facilities in the world coming to Scottsdale, Arizona in an opportunity zone. This is amazing, Jimmy. I have to say, pickleball, they talk about in their press release, which I'll read an excerpt in a minute, but they talk about it being a phenomenon. And I'm like, yeah, it actually is a phenomenon. That is not an exaggeration, is it?
No, it's not an exaggeration. By the way, full disclosure, I've only played pickleball twice, but I've loved it both times. And I'd never even heard of pickleball a year ago. And it seems like everybody around here at least is playing it. And I've seen on the news a bunch of times. I don't know. It seems to be very popular. And I applaud Caliber for getting into the game. It's pretty cool what they're doing. Andy, why don't you read the bit about the press release and then I can say a bit more.
Yeah, so I'm just going to give you guys the lead paragraph here. Pure Pickleball has announced its plans to co-develop a world-class pickleball facility near Talking Stick Resort and Casino. Arizona-based entrepreneurs Kevin Burke, Brett Warner, Kent Burke, and David Warner signed a joint venture agreement with Caliber, which is a publicly traded company now, to jointly develop an 11-acre site that is widely considered to be at the epicenter of the most active player community in the sport. So they're creating a qualified opportunity zone fund for the single purpose of investment in this business, which means that obviously accredited investors will be able to invest in this pickleball venture directly or via Caliber's diversified funds. And I think that's an interesting note, right? So you can both invest in this directly or you can get exposure to it. Caliber has some different offerings, different ways for investors to invest. But I want to read this quote from Brian Snyder, Senior Vice President of Real Estate for Caliber. Caliber has a rich history of investing in communities by developing properties and destinations that meet their growing needs. The demand for pickleball continues to exceed all expectations. By the way, fact check, true. I think that's true. We are very excited to be part of this project and believe that there is strong interest in the opportunity to invest in such a promising venture. We see opportunity for growth in this concept nationwide. And yeah, I mean, pickleball, it really is a phenomenon. I'm more of a tennis guy, to be honest. And in the tennis community, there's almost a little bit of resentment over how popular pickleball is. I know some like outdoor courts are like removing tennis space to make space for pickleball. But to me, that's just proof is in the pudding that this is a growing phenomenon and really interesting project. I always like to see, unique operating businesses taking advantage of the opportunity zones tax incentive, right, Jimmy?
Yeah, and this is one of those types of businesses that's riding a wave of popularity. I don't know if it's a fad or not. I guess time will tell. I suspect it's not, though. and just because of the popularity that it has been a part of for the better part of a year plus, I want to say. I'm displaying on the screen right now, if you're watching the live stream or the recording on YouTube, where exactly this project is. This is the greater Phoenix area here on this map. By the way, this map is available on our website, opportunitydb.com/map. You can see there's this very large opportunity zone here, just north and east of Scottsdale. And then this little black point here in the middle is the site right next to Talking Stick Resort. Here's downtown Phoenix over here to the west. Yeah, we were excited that Caliber came to us and wanted to present this at our pitch day earlier this year. I got a call from Chris Loeffler, Caliber's CEO, and he said, "Hey Jimmy, I got something a little different. We're doing a pickleball play." He let me know. I don't know if I was the first to know about it, but I was one of the first to know. And I believe when they announced it at our pitch day, it was the first time they had really ever pitched it publicly. So pretty cool opportunity for our investors that were at the event, and pretty cool for us as well that we got to participate in being the first platform that they presented it on. So yeah, I wish Caliber all the best of luck with their pickleball endeavor. Personally, I wish it was an ice hockey arena. I think, Andy, you wish it was a tennis court development, but probably pickleball is going to beat out both of those in terms of pure economics. So can't blame them.
Yeah, I was going to say, as a potential investor, LP, I think I am glad it's pickleball. I think the thing with pickleball is it's one of those games or sports that's like scalable across age. Like, I think as opposed to tennis, it might be a little bit easier to play as you get older. Yeah, I think people have a blast with it. I've never tried it. I just know it's super popular from playing
get
tennis.
Out there, man.
Yeah, and I'm glad they were at Pitch Day. One of my favorite things about OZ Pitch Day is there's always such a variety of different opportunity zone funds. So I think for investors, it's just this perfect format to kind of show up. I don't want to say drink from a fire hose, but it's almost kind of like that, just to kind of see what's out there, what's open right now as an LP, as an investor, which I am. So I love it. Like if Chris Loeffler ever calls you and says, "Hey, I got something new and different," I'm like, ears are perked up. I'm like, that is music to my ears. But Jimmy, I want to keep it moving to our second story. This is a follow-up actually from something we talked about last month, a new paper, some research that was talked about at the recent Novogradac conference. So this was at siteselection.com. The story is "Huge Opportunities Begin to Turn Real in Opportunity Zones." And this article is talking about the "Are OZs Working What the Literature Tells Us" paper that was published in October by Kenan Fikri and Benjamin Glassner that surveys 9 valuable and oft-cited studies of the OZ program. So Jimmy, from what I understand, I wasn't at Novogradac, but from what I understand, this was a big point of discussion. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. And Kenan Fikri served on that first panel at the Novogradac OZ Summit about 1 month ago. Is on November 1st, a little over a month ago now. He served on the Washington Report panel, but the panel was mostly designed to discuss legislation, but Kenan was there to provide some original research from his team at the Economic Innovation Group to help support opportunity zones for the purposes of showing Congress and showing the American people that it is working, that a lot of the research that says it's not working drew their conclusions too early. Here's why it is working, just to give a little bit more support to opportunity zones and give policymakers a reason why they should extend the program. So, one quote that Kenan had in this particular article that drew my attention was, he said, "For us, that was a surprising breadth of OZ investment already by the end of 2020. But if you look at the data in this paper and some of the graphs that they have, there's one chart that shows a map of the United States. I wasn't able to find it for this. Maybe we can post it in the show notes afterwards. But the map basically showed areas of each state and what percentage of opportunity zones had already received investment. And pretty much every state across the country had received investment in more than 20% of their opportunity zones. And in fact, if you were 20 or 30%, you're on the low end. A lot of states had investment already coming into 50% or more of their opportunity zones, which I think was quite phenomenal. So this article itself isn't really pointing to anything new. It's just a recap of the paper that EIG released back in October. But it was just great to see it get picked up by yet another media outlet, this time Site Selection Magazine, just kind of pumping opportunity zones and the great work that EIG has done and the great work that opportunity zones are doing for these economic development organizations all around the country, and these communities all around the country, the economic revitalization that it's bringing.
Yeah, absolutely. One other quote, Jimmy, that I wanted to bring up, because this to me, this really like hit. And I was like, this is something we need to be broadcasting and rebroadcasting over and over and over. So I'm going to do it here on this program. So from the article, Wheeler reports that while there was, quote, no evidence of systematic differences in new construction between OZs and comparable areas in the 4 years leading up to the program, that after OZs were approved, quote, I find a large and immediate effect of the tax credit on new development. My main estimate is a 2.9 percentage point or 20.5% increase in the monthly probability of new development. The effects increase over time, end quote. So, I mean, they talk about how the data has gone from like bad to decent, I think is what they say. But to me, like, this is pretty hard data. Like, this is pretty convincing. It's a nice little factoid, I think, to hang your hat on when you're talking about policy. Like, look, this thing worked. If you look at it, dramatically increases the probability of new development compared to this previous 4 years leading up to the program.
For sure, Andy. And they shared Kenan shared at one point, and I'll try to find this before we hop off here at the end of the hour, Andy, but they shared this chart that showed a divergence between OZ eligible tracts and OZ eligible tracts that had been made into opportunity zones versus OZ eligible tracts that had not been made into opportunity zones, and the amount of new development in the tracts that had been created as OZs. It was a pretty stark divergence just a year or two into the program. I'll see if I can find that. If we can't find it within the hour here, I'll make sure to put it on the show notes for this episode. I'll see if I can find it for you while we discuss the next topic, Andy.
Yeah, no, I love that kind of data, like either the before and after, what I'm talking about, or what you're talking about. It's like the control group and the experimental group, or group A and group B. I think that's just easy for legislators, voters, policymakers, really anybody to wrap their head around, right? When you like add the data to it, you can say, oh, this is what this opportunity zones program is actually doing in the real world, the real world effects that it has.
Look at that, Andy. I found it.
Okay.
I just needed you to kill some time for me for a minute. So I actually took this picture with my cell phone camera from the front row. So that's why it's a little bit askew, but you can see in this, and this is from that Wheeler paper that you were just discussing, Andy. And this was presented by Kenan Fikri at the Novogradac conference on November 1st. You can see these yellow circles are OZs and the blue circles are tracts that were eligible to be designated OZs, but were not made into OZs. And you can see the number of new developments, ratio of tracts with new developments. You can see the divergence here starting in 2018, right after OZs were enacted, compared to the blue is more flat. The yellow is kind of sloping up and to the right, which is what you want to see, right, Andy?
Yeah, that's dramatic. I mean, it's just that visual, I think, is very, very powerful. So if that fact that I brought up, if I think that is powerful, then I would have to say this is even more powerful, because a picture is worth 1,000 words.
That's what I hear.
And with that, I want to bring up our next story, moving along, is our upcoming masterclass over at OZ Insiders that is coming up 1 week from today on Monday, December 11th. But before we get to that masterclass, Jimmy, why don't we step back for anyone in our audience, anyone listening or watching this who is not yet aware of OZ Insiders. Jimmy, can you tell us what is OZ Insiders?
Yeah, great. And I've got the masterclass schedule up on the screen, but OZ Insiders is our brand new private mastermind group specifically designed for high performing opportunity zone professionals, executives, and investors. So if you are an attorney, if you are an accountant, if you are a fund manager, if you're a service provider, or if you're a high net worth investor or a family office, and you're interested in OZs, maybe it's part of your practice. Maybe you want to invest in opportunity zones. Maybe you are already an opportunity zone investor and you're periodically, episodically investing more into opportunity zones. If you want to be able to network with other professionals, with other investors, with other executives within the ecosystem that is the opportunity zone industry, other high performers, to share insights, to share ideas, to glean best practices, to help us create the best practices, and to learn about opportunity zones, to take deep dives into the types of topics that we're going to be covering at our monthly online masterclasses. I think you should seriously consider giving OZ Insiders a try. We'll be talking about it a little bit more throughout the course of today's episode, but that's a little bit about OZ Insiders, Andy.
Yeah. And, another thing I would say about the group, I had a couple people ask me about it, and I was like, you can almost think of it like a shortcut in the sense that we can connect you to the right people to give you a shortcut to, getting to the next level with your opportunity zone strategy. But also with these master classes, I view them as a shortcut, because the idea with these master classes is we're bringing in really the best opportunity zones experts in the world to teach our group private master classes. This is live with live Q&A, and they teach us everything we need to know about a single topic in less than an hour, right? So if you're a busy executive, if you're a business owner, like such as myself, very time limited. I love to learn, but it needs to be in these sort of bite-sized chunks where I can really learn something in less than an hour and then go about my day. So we do them live to include that group discussion and Q&A as part of our live meeting. And then we also record them, and then they're available on demand for viewing for our members who couldn't attend live. But today I want to talk about this next upcoming masterclass. This is with Ashley Tyson, the OZ Sherpa of OZ Pros fame. And this is a masterclass on structuring opportunity zone deals. And this is one of the topics, as I'm doing the programming for this masterclass schedule, we already have like a dozen or more of these already kind of penciled in, and, various throughout the coming year. But this was one I wanted to do very early, very soon after we launched the group, because I think a lot of investors and even GPs can just benefit from getting a summary of best practices. If you want to structure an OZ deal, here are all of the different areas of knowledge and all of the different factors that you need to know about. And they're really interdisciplinary, right? So it's like you need to know the accounting basics. You need to know the legal basics. There are investment basics, real estate basics, all of this information, I think summed up in one presentation that you are personally interviewing Ashley to guide this, right?
That's right. Yeah. And, we're going to be talking about structuring opportunity zone deals. So it's pretty basic topic. But if you're new to opportunity zones, if you're a developer or an investor who wants to do their own development or start your own QOF, maybe you have the deal kind of in place, but you're not quite sure how to wrap the QOF around it. You're not sure which entity you need or what types of entity or how many entities. Ashley's going to walk you through the very basics of it in less than an hour on Monday, December 11th, a week from today, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And that's another the great thing about these masterclass meetings, Andy, is that we run them like clockwork. They are, that they're always going to be the second Monday of every month at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Andy, I don't know if you want to go over any of the other ones briefly that are upcoming next year.
I think the plan at OZ NewsHour, probably every month, we're just going to cover, the next upcoming masterclass, but this is a little sneak preview. So, I do want to let our viewers know the masterclass that is coming up in January is obviously on PPMs and subscription docs. If you're watching us live right now, that will be with Andrew Daub. So I think that's another hot topic. And then we have one coming up in February with, I mean, Shay Hawkins. He's a true OZ insider, if I can use the term, pun intended, but he's going to give us an inside look at what's going on right now with the legislation. And then later on, as we go into the spring, we're doing a masterclass on raising OZ equity. And we have many more topics planned for, really the rest of the year. So this is exciting stuff. These are a lot of fun for me. Monday is really my favorite day of the week, Jimmy, because I'm either recording this show live with you or we're doing the masterclass. But moving us along, I want to talk about another class. Could we call it a class? Colloquium? Class?
Oh, class, sure.
You and I had the opportunity to go to the University of Notre Dame and present, speak, teach at a colloquium that included undergraduate students, MBA students, law students. We talked about alternative investments, private real estate, and a whole lot about opportunity zones. Jimmy, this was already one of my favorite days of the year, one of my favorite events of the year. How about you?
Yeah, this was really cool. And we got connected to by the way, this is a brand new real estate institute at the University of Notre Dame, the Fitzgerald Institute for Real Estate. I think this is its second or third year in existence. And we got connected with them through a mutual connection. I don't know, like earlier this year, I want to say maybe like 6-7 months ago. And we did an intro call with them, and they thought what you guys are doing is so cool. And the fact that you kind of got your start here at Notre Dame, why don't you come back to campus and speak on alternative investments? We'd love to. And it was a great time, Andy. I really enjoyed it. Was my first time teaching in that type of format in front of a live audience of students, undergrads, and some grad students were there as well, some law students. It was a blast. Like you mentioned, Andy, our topic of conversation was really broad. It was trends in alternative investments and private real estate, a very broad topic. We had a couple of slides on opportunity zones, but then it seemed like the opportunity zone section, and that's why we're covering it in this podcast today. The opportunity zone section of our presentation was the most popular, it seemed. We got the most questions about that topic, right?
Yeah, it took on a life of its own. And Jimmy, I'm going to be honest. I'll be honest with everyone. It shocked me, right? Like because let me know if anyone listening or watching can identify with this. Okay, if you're watching or listening to me right now talking about opportunity zones, you are one of our people, right? Like you get it. You understand that opportunity zones, that program is one of the greatest vehicles for wealth development ever created, one of the best tax incentives ever created. So you get it. We are the opportunity zones tribe. When we talk about opportunity zones with each other, we get very excited. I know Jimmy is very excitable when you bring up opportunity zones with him, but then you go home, you bring opportunity zones up at the dinner table with your husband or wife or kids, or you're at happy hour with a colleague, you're bringing up opportunities. And it's like, these other people, maybe they don't care quite as much as I do about opportunity zones. In fact, I almost get the impression that they get bored when I bring up opportunity zones. So I've kind of been conditioned to think, you know what, when I'm around our tribe, these people get it. We're all excited about this. But other, normies, as we would call them, people not in the OZ tribe, they're not as excited. So this
hey, by the way, I got to interject for a second. I remember when you were a normie, Andy, and I had to work really hard to convert you into our tribe, and I'm glad I did, because you get it now, and you're awesome about it, and you bring a lot of new life to this industry. So I'm glad you're here.
Well, I think you needed to lead with like the mega super Roth or whatever phrase you used. That
I think I gave him the boring presentation, because I thought he'd get it with the boring presentation. That's on me. But anyways. Glad you're here now. Sorry to throw you under the bus there for a second.
Yeah, that's all right. No, it's fair, but that's my exact point. So I'm conditioned to think that normies aren't that interested in opportunity zones. And in fact, Jimmy brought them up. Like, it was during our presentation, we had several slides about them, but we brought up opportunity zones, and like we're immediately getting questions like from several different students, and they're actually digging in. They want to know more about the details. And I'm like, well, this is shocking. I mean, first, I'm number one, I'm pleasantly surprised that you all are awake and engaged enough to be asking us questions during a presentation. But I'm also surprised that we're talking about alternative investments, which I, frankly speaking, I think is this awesome, big, sexy topic. But that the thing that these students, this kind of neutral group of college students and MBA students and law students, the thing that they're gravitating towards is the opportunity zones. That legitimately shocked me. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. Actually, that's very cool.
It was. And by the way, I brought up 3 different case studies of different opportunity zone projects that I thought would be good case studies to highlight for this particular audience. One of them was the Veterans Victory Project. Andy, you know about that one in Colorado Springs. Kim Cooley and Joseph Zock and their partner Brandon Sockwell bringing housing and a business center to our nation's veterans in Colorado Springs. So adding some housing in Colorado Springs, specifically set aside for our nation's veterans. I love that project. That one's got really great impact. Another one is a Catholic-oriented project because, hey, we're giving a presentation at a Catholic university. Let's highlight this new Catholic project that I know about, which is Monte Day, which is located in Globe, Arizona, by Tess Young and Brian England. And they are building some housing in Globe where some housing is needed. And they also have attached to this mixed use development in Globe. They have a nonprofit that's going to set aside some profit from the profitable arm of the business and build some free housing for retired religious clergy. So I love that project as well. I love the philanthropic endeavor that they're underway with in that project. And then the third one was a local one just south of Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana, about a mile south. My friend Kirk Walton at GPWM Funds and his firm, they are redoing an abandoned medical building. It had just been a blight on the community for the last 10 years, just sitting vacant, and they're converting it into student housing. Probably going to be in use by a lot of those Notre Dame students or their friends that were in that room with us that day, Andy. So that was another example. And we got a question, at least 1 or 2 questions, Andy, from the audience about, hey, what kind of impact does this really have? Is it actually doing what's intended? And the way we answered that was we explained that the South Bend project in particular, yeah, just building more student housing. But the fact of the matter is there is housing that is needed all over the country. It's adding, 100 or so extra rooms to the rent roll in the area. It's going to bring in new property tax for the city, which can lead to other services and essentially be a catalytic investment in that community. So that was what we touched upon at the talk there, and I really enjoyed it, Andy, and loved the questions that we got.
Yeah, absolutely. And I even welcome those questions about the policy impact of opportunity zones, because in my opinion, as proponents of the program, as representatives of the program, unofficial representatives, as LP investors in the program, and also all of the GPs that we talk to on a regular basis, we need to be able to articulate the social benefits of this program, right? So it's like actually good to be challenged a little bit and then to have a good answer. And in my opinion, the most effective answer is to talk about these success stories. So Jimmy, I thought you did a fantastic job bringing up 3 specific examples. I think that makes it easier,
makes it real, right?
Yeah, exactly. It makes it easier for people to wrap their head around it. So that was a blast, a tip of the cap to Notre Dame and especially to the Fire Institute for inviting Jimmy and I to speak about alts and opportunity zones. That was a blast. And speaking of tip of the cap, I want to give another tip of the cap to Revitate, which is our next news story. So they recently announced that they have broken ground on Bedrock, the new 37-acre, 344-home community in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So they have joined with La Terra Development, and actually this was November 16th. So this was in the past month. They did an announcement with local civic and community leaders to celebrate the groundbreaking. And this is a build to rent community. So there's 199 townhomes and 145 single family homes. Jimmy, I got to say, build to rent is so huge right now. Like I've heard about it more in the past 12 to 15 months than ever previously. And I keep hearing about it. Maybe somebody smarter than me can explain why that is,
Well, it's
combination.
because interest rates have gone up by so much. I think that has a lot to do with it.
All right, explain like I'm 5 years old. How does
first
one lead to the other?
First of all, build to rent is it is multifamily, or it doesn't have to be multifamily. It's residential, first of all.
Mhm.
And it can be multifamily or it can be single family, but essentially the term is a little bit wishy-washy in terms of what it means. If you ask 10 different developers exactly what it means, you might get 10 different answers. But essentially, it is a master planned community or a multifamily community building or set of buildings, or a community of single family homes. But instead of building them to sell, like typically you would do a master planned community or a community of 25 or 100 different homes across a few different blocks of a new development. You would sell those homes, right? That's the typical model. That's the old school model, the American dream. You buy this new home in the suburbs. Well, a lot of these communities are now being built with a build to rent strategy where, okay, hey, we're not gonna sell these homes because these people may not be able to afford to buy the homes right now, especially with interest rates as high as they are and mortgage rates as high as they are. It's just so much less affordable to own a home now than it was even just 12 to 18 months ago.
Right.
Instead, let's build them to rent, and then we can rent the homes out. And then, some of them even have some sort of program where the rental can turn into, the lease payments can turn into mortgage payments down the road. And there is a path for the renters to sometimes get some equity in the homes as well. I don't know if that's the case here or not. That's my understanding of build to rent. And I think that's the reason why it's become so much more popular in the last year, Andy, is because homeownership has become less and less affordable over time, particularly compared to renting. You see more people continuing to rent later into their 20s when it would typically be a good time to buy. So this is for first-time home buyers in particular who want to start a family, and maybe they may not be as transient as someone in their younger 20s, single, who might hop from apartment to apartment every year or two. These types of homes are meant to be rented for the long term, for 5 or 10 years or more. So they can get into those good schools. They can have a stable place to live. They can live there for a really long time, but they're essentially renting as opposed to owning the home, just because it's so much more affordable.
Yeah, and I can see how that would be a great value proposition for a property developer or for an investor, in the sense that you don't have these, 145 single family homes or 200 townhomes or whatever to sell in a market like this. That's going to be very, very risky. How long am I going to be carrying these on my balance sheet sitting unsold? Whereas if you have a high quality rental, whether it's SFR or townhome or whatever it is, in an area with good demographics, you're not going to have any trouble leasing up, most of those units relatively quickly, right? Because there's such a demand for housing units in most of the places where these are being built. I have a quote here from Alex Bethal, who's Revitate's co-founder. So Jimmy and I, we both are acquainted with Revitate, family office and sponsor. They work in the opportunity zone space, also some other different sectors outside of OZs, but this is an OZ project. And so Alex is quoted here: "We could not be more excited about the bedrock at the Trails community. The project responds to one of Albuquerque's most pressing needs, new housing, while also offering potential for attractive returns to our opportunity zone investors." So, I mean, great quote, kind of a standard quote, but a great quote. And just, it's brings up the fact that this project, this program, OZs, it offers attractive returns for investors, but in many, many places, it has also helped to address our housing shortage across all these different MSAs. I don't know too much about the situation in Albuquerque, but I mean, I know it's been a little bit of a boom town, like a lot of places in the Southwest. So no
You need
surprise.
more housing, Andy. That's the situation.
Yeah, exactly. So tip of the cat to Revitate for breaking ground on that project. And Jimmy, I think that brings us to our last story of the day, which is original editorial content from us, our 2023 OZ holiday gift guide, right? So if you are shopping for that special opportunity zone, someone in your life, and you'd like to gift them something this holiday season around the theme of opportunity zones, we have our top five picks that we think all five of these honestly are winners, Jimmy. I can say I would genuinely be happy to get any of these 5 items as a gift. Now, I will say that we have a mix of different budgets and price ranges in this gift guide. So if you hear of one of these, you're like, well, that's pretty steep, just hang out and hold on. We're going to get through some different price points. So I think we have a gift to literally fit any budget. So Jimmy,
and this is where we normally give our disclosure about how we're an affiliate and we're earning revenue off of all these links, but we're actually not. We're actually not earning any revenue.
Well, one of them we own. One of them we own.
One of them we own. That's a good point.
we'll disclose that one when we get to it. Why don't we start off though?
Andy, where's your Santa hat?
Oh, sorry, I don't have one.
All right, next year.
Oh, by the way, I have one on the graphic. So if anybody found us through the LinkedIn graphic or the YouTube, they're like, Andy, you were wearing a Santa hat on the graphic. Why aren't you wearing a Santa hat right now? So sorry, guys, you just found out that our graphics designer, he misled you, right? Into thinking that I have a Santa hat when I do not. It's on my list. Maybe that's bonus item number 6, Jimmy. You can gift me a Santa hat, but why don't we start holiday gift guide pick number 1? It's a book, right? And who doesn't love getting a book for Christmas? The Guide to Making Opportunity Zones Work. I have to say, Jimmy, I love physical books. Like there's nothing wrong with a Kindle, especially if I'm on a flight. I like having my Kindle with me, but as you can see behind me, you can't even see the bookshelves above my head that aren't in frame. I own a ton of books. I love having them in my shelf. I love having a reference
bookworm, Andy Higgins,
library.
Bookworm.
Now this, among the Opportunity Zone books that have been published, this is one of your favorites. Is that right?
It is. It's I think I own a copy of every Opportunity Zone book ever published. I also have this Novogradic Opportunity Zones magazine here from it's from 3 years ago, I guess, actually. But this one's great. This one was written by Steve Glickman and Ira Weinstein. Steve Glickman, if you don't know, he was the founder of EIG. He essentially was one of the very few people that made Opportunity Zones into reality. He helped get the ball across the finish line back in 2017 when Opportunity Zones was first introduced into Congress. This is a great book. It's got a chapter for different types of stakeholders. It's got a chapter for OZ investors, for OZ fund managers, for OZ developers, for OZ businesses, and for OZ community leaders. So I read it cover to cover. I had Steve and Ira on my podcast a couple years ago when this first came out. It's a great handbook. It's not too long. It's less than 100 pages, but it's packed full of a ton of information. And again, there's a chapter in here for every type of OZ stakeholder just about. So highly recommend that one, Andy.
I love books that are 100 pages long or like about 100 pages,
Who wants to read War and Peace,
Well, sometimes I do, or sometimes I'll need a
not if you want to do some Opportunity Zone stuff. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you need that in-depth reference, like that encyclopedia-like reference, on the bookshelf that you might need to refer to from time to time. But I love just being able to sit down and read about a topic for an hour or two and really get the gist of it. So I think this book is, the perfect title to do just that. And it's available in physical form, which for me, again, I love buying physical books. Maybe I'm alone in that, but you can pry my physical books out of my cold dead hands, right? Nothing against the Kindle. I'm just saying, which brings me to the second gift, the second pick on our gift guide, which is Novogradic's Introduction to Opportunity Zones.
This one I
And
don't have. I got to get this one.
yeah, what are you, a cheapskate here? It's not very expensive,
I don't
Jamie.
know.
We got to buy this right now. We might check out as soon as we're off the air. I think we need to add to cart. But this, it's $25 just for the physical copy, or for $30 you get the premium edition where a physical copy will be mailed to you, and you also get a digital copy. And Novogradic, I think they have some of the very, very, very top shelf best content in the OZ world. The fact that they have this second edition of their guide available for $30, I think it's a no-brainer. So honestly, if you're not gifting this to someone else, I'd also recommend purchasing it yourself, Jimmy. If you don't buy this by the end of the day, maybe I'll gift it to you. This will be my Christmas gift
you
to
can self-gift any of these. That's the beauty of this. By the way, here's the table of contents, Andy, for that Novogradic guide. So brief history, what the tax benefits are. Chapter 3, just simply titled Opportunity Zones. That's pretty straightforward. QOFs, QOZP, and then how it works with other incentives also. So this one's a quick hitter also. This looks like it's probably going to come in under 40 pages. Just a pretty brief little guide, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, but it's from Novogradic. So to me,
Novogradic, so it's going to be good.
Yeah, if you consider yourself an opportunity zone guy or opportunity zone gal, this is probably a must-have book to include in your opportunity zones library. Such as
just
yours.
waiting for somebody to gift that to me. Just been waiting.
Exactly. Now, moving on to the next gift in our pick number 3 in our holiday gift guide for 2023, membership to OZ Insiders. So this is the private mastermind group that we were talking about earlier in today's episode that Jimmy and I have started. It's not inexpensive, right? It does cost $299 a month to join, but we think that the value is there. Actually, we think the value is more than there, considering all that you get with your membership. But it's definitely something that you can try out if you just want to try it out for a month. I think this would be a great thing to gift to yourself, or if you want to, be very generous and gift someone else an annual membership, by all means, get in touch with us. We're happy to work with you. Jimmy, I got to say, OZ Insiders, since we launched this group, for me, it's just been a whole lot of fun just to, talk with people who get it, kind of back to the Notre Dame talk that we give. It's always kind of surprising to be around people who get it. And this is a group of individuals who are all focused on getting to the next level with opportunity zones. So it's just great that we all have that in common inside the group.
It is. Yeah. And I've been getting a lot of questions we've been sending a lot of emails about OZ Insiders. We just launched it 1 week ago. Last week was our big launch week. And I heard from a lot of people in my network asking me, hey, what is this? Should I join? Is it right for me? Is it not right for me? What's included? So what is included is our once monthly masterclasses, which we talked about already. You also get on-demand access to any of our past masterclasses. So we've already run one. We're running another one next week. We record all of them. If you ever miss one, or maybe you join a month or two from now and you want to see the ones we already did, boom, log in. They're right there, immediately available. We also have a private chat group with all of our members, and we've got over 30 members now, Andy, who have joined us in the past couple of weeks. And so a lot of them are in that private Slack group, and it was blowing up last Friday, if I recall correctly. There was a lot of chatter in there, and it's a great way just to kind of stay in touch between those monthly master classes and meetings. We're also going to do at least 2 in-person events next year. We're planning on a OZ Insiders dinner in Dallas, Texas in March. And then we're going to do some sort of dinner in Chicago in late spring or early summer. And then we'll probably end up doing a 3rd one, maybe a 4th one in 2024, but haven't firmed up those details just yet. And those will only be available for our OZ Insiders members. And then just really a lot of the power of OZ Insiders is within the community, who is in it, and the network there, the network of accounting and legal experts, of developers, of fund managers, and of high net worth investors and family offices. Andy, I don't know if I missed anything there.
No, I think you covered it. And, you know, again, I think if you want to give a generous gift, OZ Insiders membership would be a great pick, but it's also something that can be your Christmas present to yourself. I think that's a very valid choice. I want to move on, though, Jimmy. As much as I love talking about OZ Insiders, I want to shift gears to pick number 4, right?
Absolutely.
Because as you're talking about how we're, you know, OZ Insiders are going to be hosting a dinner in Dallas and then another one in Chicago. You were recently at the Novigradic conference. A lot of us in the Opportunity Zones world, we are travelers, right? We are going all over the country. We're flying, we're driving. We were actually just talking to an OZ Insiders member earlier today, right? He's driving around looking at different properties. He's talking to us, you know, while he's driving around. So I have to say, Jimmy, you know me, I love my shoes, right? I love loafers, bit loafers, penny loafers. I have nice boots. I like Alden shoes. Like I like high-end traditional men's shoes. But when I'm flying, when I'm traveling, comfort is the name of the game, right? And so anytime I'm flying to an OZ conference or investor meetup or OZ Insiders meetup, you better believe I'm rocking my New Balance shoes, right? Because comfort is king. And if I'm going to be sitting on a 2 or 3 or 4 hour flight or walking around an airport, I want to be comfortable. New Balance, they are an exception. They still make some of their shoes in the good old USA. That's getting increasingly rare, isn't it, Jimmy?
It is. It is.
So
that's why these pair of sneakers cost $200, I think, Andy. But
well,
hey,
that's
they're made in the USA and they're built well, right?
Yeah, and I want to caveat this:
you get what you pay for.
So this is the New Balance made in USA 993 model. I mean, I think it has a great classic style. They're very, very comfortable. I also think they look good. But yeah, they're $200, right? So they're pretty pricey. This is only if you want to splurge. I also want to point out New Balance has a lot of other great models. You know, not made in the USA, still very comfortable, great travel shoes that I would also recommend. But if you really want to splurge, you know, get the 993. It's going to last you.
Oh, this is the Heritage Collection, Andy.
Oh, is it?
Look at that.
Oh, yeah. I just love the color. You just can't beat like a light gray suede sneaker. This has our official.
Pairs well with jeans.
Exactly. So this sneaker has our official stamp of approval at OZ NewsHour, especially for all of you jet setters who are traveling to different OZ projects, conferences, and meetups. Bringing me to our last gift, our final pick for the 2023 OZ Holiday Gift Guide. Jimmy, this is something that you turned me on to. The Briggs & Riley carry-on expandable spinner, right? This is their best-selling carry-on luggage. And this was before we went to a conference in Miami. I think I was like, you know what? We're going to all these shows, all these different conferences, Opportunity Zones, private equity. I need to upgrade my luggage game, right? Because I'm using this old beater. And you recommended Briggs & Riley. I'm like, man, that's pretty pricey. Do I really want to spend this amount of money on a carry-on? I just kind of took the leap, right? I was like, okay, well, you're telling me it's worth it. So I bought it. And then literally the first trip we went to Miami, like, this thing is awesome. It was totally worth the money. I couldn't believe how easy it was to pack, and just a lot of the different features, literally just toting it around the airport, so much lighter and more comfortable. Just the way it moves.
Makes traveling fun again, right, Andy?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my philosophy is life is just too short, right? I don't want to be miserable when I'm flying and when I'm traveling. So I splurged. This is the 22-inch carry-on. It does have like this fold-out garment section. So I was able to fit a sport coat, a blazer in there with some Oxford cloth button-down shirts. But I have to say there's another model that now I'm interested in, Jimmy, which is It's a garment bag, but in the carry-on size. So this is a 22-inch carry-on 2-wheel garment bag. And man, I can hardly believe that I even bought the first piece of luggage, but I have to admit I'm strongly considering getting this one as well. I just love that there's that extra space for the sport blazer, for the shirts, just sort of a extra insurance against any wrinkling, right? Because I don't really like having to steam it all when I arrive at my destination.
Well, sometimes you don't have time, right?
That's right. Yes, you're right. Sometimes you just need to do a quick little change and head right to the event. So Briggs & Riley, they're not a sponsor of this program. By the way, guys, if you do want to sponsor the program, please get in touch. But they're not a sponsor. This is just our honest recommendation. They have our full confidence, full stamp of approval here at the show. Jimmy, we're almost out of time. I think that wraps up our gift guide.
Yeah, I just want to say you can spend more money, right, on luggage. This is high end, but not super high end. I think you could spend a lot more money if you wanted to get like a Toomey or something like that. But this is pretty darn good. This one, I've got the blue one, and I love it. Go on, Andy. Sorry to interrupt.
You have blue? I didn't even know there was a blue.
Yeah, I got the blue one.
Oh, I should have gotten blue. Well, you know what? I got olive. I think I stand by my choice, but the blue looks shy. Anything but black. Everybody has black. I don't want black luggage. I want something a little different. No offense to any listeners who have black luggage. I just like to get a little variety so that my bag is easier to recognize when it's on the conveyor belt. Although with the carry-on, you don't need to necessarily worry about that. We're almost out of time. Now it's time for Jimmy's pick, Andy's pick. Jimmy, let's start with yours. What piece of content, what podcast, article, webinar, etc., do you want to bring everyone's attention to with your pick?
I'm going to call an audible, Andy, because I actually want to go to the comments for 1 minute because we did get a comment from one of our live viewers. It's in 2 parts, so bear with me, Andy. And then I am going to get to my pick of the month. This one's from Janeskis, Jasneskis. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I am not an OZ insider. Don't need to become one. But I do need to invest in OZ funds periodically. I only need access to OZ. I think he or she means OZ funds, and then goes on. Will you still be giving access to QOZ investments so your members can present to investors? So this is a great question. The answer is yes. We have hosted 3 OZ pitch days a year in the past, and we're going to continue to host OZ pitch days throughout 2024 and into the foreseeable future. Those are free to attend. If you are an investor, you have capital gains, and you're looking for some quality deals and funds to put your gains to work into, please sign up for OZ Pitch Day. You can always learn more. You can watch the previous pitch days at ozpitchday.com. You can register at ozpitchday.com for the upcoming one. Our next one's coming up March 7th, 2024. We're going to open registration in January. And then that commenter just did chime in, says, I've seen them all. So that's great. I'm glad you've seen them all. We're going to continue to do those. Those are not going away. OZ Insiders is meant for people who want to go deeper, learn more, and network with other investors. But definitely, you don't need to join if you just want to come and watch the OZ pitch days. That's perfectly fine. Andy, do you have anything else to add, or should we go into our picks?
No, I want to hear your pick. What's our pick?
Okay, so my pick is Urban Catalyst. We did they're our biggest sponsor, by the way. We love them. We do a lot of marketing with them every year. We did something new that we had never done with them before, which was we hosted a super webinar with them last week, Andy, where they presented for an hour, just them. I interviewed their CEO, Eric Hayden, for the first 15 minutes of the call. And then he went into a big presentation on 2 of their offerings. They have a QOZ Fund 2 that they're raising for. And by the way, he had some news about that one. He touched on it at OZ Pitch Day last month, but he reiterated during the super webinar last week that their office component of their OZ fund is officially now being converted into multifamily. The office market just never came back as strongly as they wanted to see in San Jose, and they didn't want to wait it out any longer. So rather than wait it out, they're going to spend some time converting that into multifamily.
You got it your way, millennials. You got what you wanted. So
exactly. Thank you. And then he presented their brand new non-opportunity zone multifamily equity project, which is building a multifamily building called the Aquino in downtown San Jose. And they've structured that one in a really interesting way. It's not an opportunity zone. It's not an OZ deal, but they've structured it in a way that they can accept qualified retirement plan funds, Andy. So if you have a self-directed IRA, you can invest your IRA dollars with them. And at some point, when the value of the building during construction dips, when the fair market value dips below your original basis, they advise you that you could potentially do an IRA conversion to a Roth IRA. I should say a Roth IRA conversion at that point at a lower valuation, which should help your tax bill. It's not for every investor. And they encourage you, please, please, please talk to your CPA before doing this. But for the right investor who has enough funds in an IRA and is considering a Roth conversion, it's a potentially great vehicle to do it in. But as always, consult with your advisor before making any investment decisions or doing anything tax-wise. Consult with your CPA, please. So anyways, I learned a bunch of new stuff from Urban Catalyst on that one. And I thank them and Eric for joining me last week on that super webinar. Andy, what's your pick of the month this month?
Well, by the way, I enjoyed that webinar as well. And tip of the cap to Urban Catalyst for just being so creative with their high quality offerings in the realm of tax advantaged investing. My pick this month is an article that you wrote, Jimmy. And I'm not just trying to massage your ego. The article was published on November 21st. The title is New House Bill Would Extend and Improve Opportunity Zones. And here's the deal, Jimmy. This article didn't break any news, right? There's not really new information here for people who are really deep into the OZ issue. But I thought you just did an excellent job of summarizing what's going on right now with the OZ legislation, what's in the bill in a very digestible, easy to understand way that just anybody could read and kind of understand it very, very quickly. So Jimmy, nice job writing this article.
Well, thank you, Andy. Let's see if I can get it up on the screen. There it is. Thank you very much.
I'll be sure to link to that in our show notes as well. So by the way, all of the links from all of the news stories that we discussed will be included in our show notes, which are always available at opportunitydb.com. And with that, that's it for today's show. We will be back in about a month with our next edition. Thank you for watching and listening. And Jimmy, thank you for joining me today. This was a lot of fun.
Andy, this was a lot of fun. As always, happy holidays, Merry Christmas to all of our viewers out there. And we will see you in the new year in 2024. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate it.